My name's Liene and welcome back to my channel. It's time for my July wrap-up. In July I read 10 things. That's a lot. I wish I knew how many pages it was, but because it's not that much, I think. Let's not think about it. First thing I finished was Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Chapter 1. Let's talk about first and third book, because the third was Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Chapter 2. When I got the book, the comic, on my Kindle as an ebook, I thought it was like volume 1, but turns out it was just a chapter 1, so it was about 40 pages. The same with chapter 2, so it's not a whole story. But the chapter 1 wasn't creepy at all. It was like the start of, we all know that Sabrina is a witch and she has a cat, and it's like a scary comic or graphic novel. How do you call it? Chapter 2 was a bit creepier because there was this one character, this lady. Oh, she's creepy. I enjoyed it. Sadly, I didn't read the rest of the chapters, though I have, I think, all of them. But it's like hard to talk about it because I didn't read like all of it, just the 2 chapters. But that's my bad, because I didn't look what I was buying, that it was just a chapter, not the whole thing. Those were the 2 things I read like close to each other. The first one was for Book Junkie Trials, and the second was for Biannual Bibliothon, the final Bibliothon I did. Oh, I don't know how should I do this, but okay. The next book was for Biannual Bibliothon, and it was Princess Bride by William Goldman, and I didn't like the book. It was so, I don't know, I expected something more, and I constantly tried to remember the movie. I didn't like the way it's told, like it's a retelling of, he's like telling some other story, and he's like making an abridged version of it. And the part where he like retells the story, it's okay. But the additions, like in between, when he like has these remarks why he's doing that, or what's in the parts that he cuts out, those were annoying. And the beginning, like how he gets to the retelling, it was so boring and annoying. I just didn't enjoy the book. I struggled so much reading it. Oh, it was terrible. So I don't really want to talk about it. I have a vlog when I vlogged reading it, so you can check it out. I hopefully will link it down below. Then the next book I finished was, and I finally have a book to show you. Hey, Sana, no, no, don't do that. Yes, come here. Everybody knows you're pretty. Okay, let's go. The next book I finished was Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I really enjoyed this book, but not as much as I enjoyed the Illumina files. And I read this for Book Junkie Trials and Biannual Bibliothon. It's about a crew like unlikely crew, ragtag team, I think it's somewhere said, and they're going on this adventure, and they are being chased because of this girl Aurora that was found at the beginning of the book, and she has been in this sleep state for over 200 years, and she was meant to travel to a planet, but something went wrong and she was found only 200 years later, and that's not okay with the main guys. So since she's with them, they are chased because of her, and they have crazy adventures, kinda. I didn't like the ending. I hate that I have to wait for the sequel, but I enjoyed the book. Not all the characters, and it is from too many perspectives. Should be six perspectives, because there are 5 originally, and there are joined by Aurora. I'm so bad at explaining what the book is about, but I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling too much. But yes, I would recommend it to read it, but don't expect it to be like Illumina Files, because it's like a novel. It's not like the files with the Illumina Files, how it's like documents and things. This wrap-up is a mess already. Sorry for that. But let's continue with the next book. The next book I finished was this one. It's called Pas my doet, and the English title is A Certain Smile, and it's by Françoise Sagan, a French author. I'm looking in my reading journal. What did I read it for? And I read it for biannual Bibliothon. It is a story about a young girl who falls in love with a married man, and they have an affair, and it's how she kind of grows up and learns about life. I enjoyed it. I liked how it's written, the language, so I guess it's a good translation since it's originally French. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about was for the reading rush. It was my first time participating in some video challenges too. I had participated in previous years just in the reading part. The first book I finished was Mešpasakas by Laura Vinogradova. It's a children's book about forest animals. There are 3 stories. 3 lovely stories for kids with lovely illustrations. I can show you. I really enjoyed the illustrations. And there are stories about friendship, about learning to say no and doing things you enjoy for yourself, not for others. And yeah, it's like a children's book. It teaches you something. At least teaches kids something. And the next children's book for the reading rush was Dūlais Dauka by Sudrabu Edges, and this one is Latvian classic, children's classic, and it's about a boy, a very curious boy who wants to know a lot of things, and he's fascinated by the horizon, the place where sky meets the sea. and he asks a lot of questions, and he's put down because of that. He's not supposed to question grown-ups. And it's a sad story. It doesn't have a happy ending. And it was quite hard to read because there is like abuse, children abuse in it. But since it's happening in different time, at that time it was like acceptable to do that. But nowadays it's like really serious abuse. And even teachers are so mean. But I had to remember that it's completely different time. So that's that. The next book I finished was Fire and Heist by Sarah Beth Durst, and I read it for the Book Junkie trials. It was an okay book, but since it's a fantasy standalone, it's like really short, and I wanted more from it. I wanted more of the other world that was so briefly mentioned and visited in this one. It's about this girl who, her family, and there's this society in the world of people who can turn into dragons, but they are living in this world, and for I don't remember how many years, but they have like these draconic powers. They can breathe fire and they can survive really high temperatures, but they can't actually turn into dragons. And her mother has done something and disappeared, and she wants to know why and what has happened. And since she's not told everything, all the truth by her father, she goes on her own, and then she goes on the heist. She has her team, and she just doesn't listen to her family, and everything goes wrong. Not everything, but of course in the end everything is okay. But it was an okay read, too short for me. I wanted more from explanation on the dragon society, but at least I'm glad it's a standalone and I don't have to continue the series. Then after this one I finished, and it was for the Reading Rush 2, I finished Birthday by Meredith Russo. And I love this book. This one made me cry, but it was really, really good. It's about two teenagers who have their birthdays on the same day, and it's Eric and Morgan. And it follows their story on their birthdays, like from 13 to 18. And how their lives change, how they learn things, and how they learn to accept themselves. And it's a, how do you call it? It's about a transgender kid and her growing to love herself the way she is. I read If I Was Your Girl by this author, and I love that one too, so I knew I wanted to read this one the minute I found out that it's coming out. And I got it unexpectedly in the Illumicrate box, and I read it, and it's one of my favorite books this year. It's a heartbreaking story. It's hard for me to read about terrible parents who abuse their kids. And there are that kind of thing too. So I was glad it ended well. But It would be terrible if it ended badly. And then the last book I finished was for the Book Junkie Trials, and it was like the Grow book. And that it was Stardust by Neil Gaiman. And the more time goes by, the less I remember about it. I enjoyed it. It was a bit strange because it has this like fairy tale-ish vibe, but it's told in this really interesting manner. It's basically about a boy who goes to look for a star, fallen star, because the girl she likes wants it. So, and he has adventures on the way there and the way back. And I know there's a movie. I think I've seen it a really, really long time ago, but I don't remember anything about it. So, yes. That's kind of it. I know this was a mess, and I didn't really tell anything about all those books. But I don't think I can do better, because it's already August 11, and it's been like a lot of days since I finished some of them. Okay, I think that's gonna be it. I hope you liked it. Please let me know what you read in July. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I post new videos. And I see you in the next one. Bye! Oh my god, this is terrible. That was terrible, but I don't want to refilm it to make it a bit better. So let's just take a picture. Oh. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye. I'm a weirdo.